I would like to welcome all of you in our second virtual meeting, and I hope you are all safe. Happy I have all the respect that goes out for all of you for your participation, and I'm sure that your participation is valuable as we are trying, to shape the future of the online teaching and learning around the world. So it's a very enriching experience. For those who are participating for the first time, my name is Sami Bashar, Bisha, and I'm representing the American University of Sicily. I don't have to repeat that, but proudly I always say that Sicily is the most beautiful piece of land on earth. So I hope our next meeting, we will invite you to come and visit us here in Sicily. Many of the participants in our first meeting expressed their interest to further the discussion. So in our second meeting, we want to, as I mentioned in my email, to capture a snapshot of what is happening internationally with the transition and share example of effective practice used by participants. We want to hear a more perspective on how to ensure students thrive in the new online learning environment. So the schedule for today is a little bit different than our first meeting. So it's going to be divided into 3 moments. Our first moment has already started, and we will continue with 2 more interventions, very brief interventions. Our advisory board member, I would like to thank him for his continuous support, for his generosity, Professor Gregory Light. And today I have invited personally through a friend of mine in Lebanon, a master student, Rana Khouri from the University of the Holy Spirit, the Catholic in Lebanon, who won the prime, and I will be talking about that later. In our second moment, we will be giving voice to contribute and share examples of effective practices by dividing ourselves into different Zoom rooms. So to give possibility to all to share, to talk, to get to know each other more. And it's a great opportunity, I think, that we are connecting from different parts of the world. And that is one of the good practices, is that we can invite people for our classes for 5 minutes to share their experiences with our students. Then the final moment will be when participants are brought back to the main room for sharing practical solutions and discussion.
I would like to thank you for this invitation first, and it will be a great pleasure for us as USAC to participate.
To see what is happening around the world and say what is working with you, what is not working. And this is why we invited this student from Lebanon to tell us, as a student, we can learn.
It's a platform for students and learners because we basically, me and my team, we saw a very big lack in video conferencing tools used for education. And so we decided to create a platform that's a bit more collaborative and interactive for the student, for both the students and the teachers. And it's a whiteboard where the teacher can write on the board and it will update in real time for all the participants, just like they can do in a real classroom. We also did a small surveys to make sure that everyone is on the same ideas as we are. And basically, most students prefer real classrooms because they prefer the interactivity and the collaboration it brings.
Well, thank you, Sami, and thank you for inviting me again to this wonderful meeting. It's wonderful to see everybody. I'm also delighted to actually follow on with what Rana was just saying. My background is I'm a professor of learning sciences focused in higher education, professional education. So most of my research and publications have been around student learning. Just before I start, I just wanted to share an experience I had that became a project for my center. I was the director of the Center for Advancing Learning and Teaching at Northwestern University for 15 years. And about 10 years ago, our School of Continuing Studies decided that they were going to put all of their courses online. They focus on a lot of professional students at all levels, master's level and undergraduate level. But a lot of their students were part-time and they were distributed across the country. So they decided they were going to put their courses online and make a major effort in this. They did so, and after a couple of years found that they had major problems, which was primarily dissatisfaction from both the students and the faculty. Everybody seemed to hate it, basically. They invited our center to come in and evaluate the program. And the takeaway we found after evaluating it for quite a while was that their focus was on content. Entirely picking up some of the themes that Rana was just saying, they basically were just putting content online and expecting their students to learn it in a kind of acquisition sort of mode. They focused not on learning, but on putting content up which they expected students just to soak in, which they could do just as well in a book, even better. Our solution was to get them to begin to focus on learning, and that meant creating environments, online environments, to encourage learning. And after many studies with them and our studies ourselves, we drew on 6 principles that I'm hoping that some of you are all probably already drawing on, maybe in your in-class courses and possibly in your online courses, that can really begin to change the online environment for students and for faculty as well. They bring along their own host of challenges, but they're useful. The 6 principles, and I'll just quickly go through them, I won't explain them in detail, are focusing on deep learning as opposed to surface learning. Surface learning is essentially memorizing the material that's put up and students just acquire it to regurgitate it back. Deep learning is more critical and creative. It's engaging students to actually look at what they're learning in terms of their own experiences, their own ideas, and with other people. It's problem focused. It doesn't start necessarily with just content. It starts with the problems and questions that the content is there to help students engage with and find solutions with. The third principle was that it was peer connected. It meant that students engaged with each other in trying to solve the problems, in trying to learn the material. They were given opportunities to do that. And those peer, ideally the diversity of that peer interaction enhanced it even further. The more that you diversify the number of peers in which students engaged with. Men could be mentors for each other. If they had strong points, they would be able to focus on that and bring their own wealth of experience to mentor other students. If they were a senior student versus a junior or a new student, that could help. They were also community situated. So communities, the best online environments were those that created communities in the way in which Sammy is trying to create a community with you all, and you get to know each other. And the fourth one was they were either research or inquiry directed. They gave students not only problems, but asked them to do some research or inquiry about them and engage them and feed that back and take feedback themselves. So I'll just leave you with those because the one thing I think we should all learn, and personally I'm hoping crises aren't necessarily good things, but they have silver linings. And one silver lining is that we may actually take this opportunity to move towards different types of environments that actually encourage learning away from traditional environments, which still dominate across the world. I've worked on all 5 continents with faculty and students, and it's the same wherever you go. The majority of universities and higher education environments are still based on sage on the stage sort of thing, where one authority gives information to the others to just take in without engaging substantially. So I'm hoping that this crisis may lend itself towards major changes in terms of the way we engage with our students.
My name is Kajsa Møllersen. I'm assistant professor at the Arctic University of Norway in Tromsø.
The students that tend to not thrive as much online, it doesn't necessarily always mean it's a technological skill that they're lacking. That I think it's that personable, connection with their fellow students and their teacher, their professor. And so there are things that we can do in an online environment to take care of the whole student, if you want to call it that way. It's not just about content. It's also about engagement. It's also about who your students are and what they bring to the table. So how do you engage them in ways that taps into not only their head, but their heart, and that makes them feel as though they're a part of an engaged community online. So then it doesn't seem like just a thing you have to do and that it's transactional, but you're actually trying to create a learning environment online that is, you're thinking about it from the student perspective, from their lens of what do they need to feel valued, belonging, and engaged, and intellectually stimulated, and learning.
As instructors, to teach online when your kids are around you at home. So I solved this problem by recording 2 lectures out of 3 per week and uploading them for the students.
I just gave them questionnaire after seeing the lecture and the exercise, and some tasks to solve and to send to me. And it was always the Thursday. I so said the Thursday when we should have the lectures of the faculty is the day for the lectures. And they have the whole week to answer those questions and to solve the task. After the few weeks that concluded, the motivation went down. Then I decided to try to pull it up, and I gave them the case studies to solve and to send to me. And in these last weeks, I gave them the project. The project includes some exercise on internet to find some enterprise and to solve all the tasks I gave to them, and they must send to me in 2 weeks. That I see to try them to motivate to do and to learn something. I think that will be the quality that nothing will change the lectures on faculty, but in some kind it improved online learning.
I think short trainings with just technical, motivational, psychological, maybe even, would be one of the aspects that I think probably we have missed in this transitional period.
We have been looking at the issue of cost because the data is very expensive in Zimbabwe. And what has happened within a short space of time is that universities have come together and engaged government and those who are providing data to negotiate lower prices for data. It won't solve the problem, but at least in terms of the negotiations, there are packages which have been considered for higher learning institutions.
As for me, I found out that it is a very good time to explore, to find new programs, to study about the Zoom program, to learn more things about these systems.
The student likes the online platform because some of them, they work. This is an opportunity for them to stay home and work and earn money and study whenever they want.
The main challenges that in the group have been found are bad infrastructure, especially for developing countries, and no instructions for the teachers because the change has been so sudden. So teachers and students have been challenged by this very quick passage. And then there is no legislation for teaching online, so there's no regulation. And trainers have not been trained to use the facilities, so the teachers are facing problems because they don't know. Many know, but many of them don't know how to use the tools. Teaching online also enlarges and has already enlarged the gap between developed countries and developing countries, countries which has the resources and countries which don't have any resources.
This is the result of my 10 years working, and I didn't know that the time will come and the people will stay in front of each other, sometimes with glasses.
One of the ways in which engagement can be done was that maybe to move too much more to project-based type of things. And first of all, move from this surface learning kind of an environment in which we are just trying to focus more on the repetition of the learned facts, and then it should be more engaging. And then one of the participants also contributed that there should be guest lectures in which other participants, like other people from different walks of life could be invited, like they can be artists or somewhat. And this can be a bit motivating for the students to take part.
Have a few tools, Moodles, Zoom, WhatsApp, emails, but no of these tools are suitable for every subject.
What is the future of learning? This is very important nowadays. Yes, we believe that we have a rapid, unplanned transition to online learning. We have, for the faculty, there was no training insufficient, and we have also connectivity problem, internet problem, especially in the developing country with our students. I believe that online education eventually will become an integral part of undergraduate, not only for graduate students.
There's a couple of things I really wanted to be really positive about, and about as a community, because I think this is an initiative that is us coming together as higher education professionals about changing the future. And I think that this time has given us an opportunity outside of our teaching to develop some of our own professional development.
We have to evaluate also what the comments of the students.
It's really important to know what the students think about this online teaching experience.
I think this time we can call that this time is very uncertain, but at the same time it's very transforming time. Of course, not only in the sphere of technologies, but in the sphere of our focus in education. Now we discuss a lot that we have to shift from such reproductive to problem-solving learning for students. And I think this situation will force us to change. Of course, there is a lot of questions about this uncertainty with starting with the cheating to security to freedom. And of course, this is time to become more responsible for us, first of all, and for our students as well. They have to care about their knowledge, how to obtain this knowledge, where to gather this knowledge. And maybe we as a teacher, we should not be focused only on the process of transmitting knowledge, but also to educate our students, to be independent, responsible, to be maybe caring about themselves and their community, I think this time is amazing, challenging, but really amazing.
Thank you again and see you soon.